Welcome back, Onslaught fam. And today we have a very special guest. Got Best General over here. I can never get that right. The 8-man 8TC event a couple weeks ago in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Mr. Malaki Fowler. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir. Tell the people, anything that's worth knowing about you.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me on. It's always great to do these interviews after events. I'm really looking forward to it. And I think we're going to have some really interesting conversations about teams and 11th edition and Thousand Suns right now. So it's exciting.
Thousand Suns are always interesting. They are, man. They're like if Space Marines and GSC had a baby of an army and just. I always love talking about Thousand Suns because they are interesting. So it is going to be good. First of all, any shout outs? Was it a team event? Any team or any other socials you want to share with people that they might be able to follow you or keep up with you at all?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, huge shout out to my team, Event Horizons, which we try to bring to every major team event that we can. Obviously, our result at this one wasn't phenomenal. We went 3-1-1, which is still very good, a positive result nonetheless. Very happy to have been there with them. I definitely have to give a big shout out to Tabletop Gaming Center in Newington, Connecticut, who sponsors our team. They help us to afford to travel to all these big events all year because it is definitely not cheap. As anyone who travels for the hobby understands, costs can definitely add up. So huge shout out to them. Obviously, check them out if you guys are locals. They have a great story.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I travel in my state alone, and it adds up very quickly. So I go and cross lines. I've done it twice to Cherokee and once to Missouri for a team event, and yeah.
yeah, they definitely get pricey.
Sharing rides and Airbnbs and hotels, it still adds up. So that's awesome. Well, thank you for that. And it's a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for agreeing to do this. I'm sure you're a busy man. As we can see behind you, you have quite a legacy in the wargaming thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm a personal fan of that. But getting into it, this was the first teams event of the edition. I believe it was the weekend after the edition launched. So very early, largely an unknown playing field. Like the armies may not have changed per se, but between dispositions, layouts, asymmetric warfare, new secondaries, psychic changes, the hidden rule, just so many heroic intervention changing, 2-inch engagement range. What was, kind of just starting it? Where do you even and to mention, you are the captain of your team, Event Horizon.
Correct. Yeah.
So to give context to my first question, where do you even start on building, and not just a 5-man, but an 8-man team to go to something like this?
Yeah, so obviously it actually started probably 3 months before the event, leading up to the team's event BFS, Battle for Salvation, which happens in New York every year. That was kind of like a testing ground almost, mostly for the players that we were going to bring. So, teams events get super weird because you never actually know what's going to be good by the time an event comes around, but you do know that something will be good. And you know that you have to plan several months in advance because people have to book flights, we have to book an Airbnb, you have to do all the logistics, and you can't just wait for 11th edition to drop and then figure it out from there, because we would have 10 days to figure out how to get everyone there and who's coming and what's good. So you kind of have to focus in on the fact that we know 11th edition is going to be new. We know that everyone's going to be learning. So the number one thing you can do, at least in my opinion, is you should start grabbing faction specialists. Now, on my team, we're very lucky to have several faction specialists. You have myself on Thousand Suns. For all of 10th edition, I only played Thousand Suns. I became the best in the world at it. I have a big legacy of playing Thousand Suns, so it makes sense that I would play them even if they were bad. Even if 11th edition had dropped and rules where basically the Thousand Suns were trash, I still would have found a way to play it and just kind of rely on that experience. And we kind of just did that for most of our factions and what we brought. So we had Ari on Drukari. Ari is a faction specialist, is very well known for it. We had Quentin on Votan. Quentin's also a faction specialist. We had Lee Brady on Necrons, also a faction specialist. We had Phil Schwan on Death Guard, also a faction specialist. And then when it comes to filling the rest of our team, it's looking at, well, what do we think is going to be strong going into 11th edition? The biggest one, everyone knew Tau were going to be good. So everyone was prepared for Tau to be good. And we went, okay, well, who is our best, flexible player that can go learn Tau very quickly and play it? And for that, we relied on Sean Reynolds, who's a very well-known and very good player over here on the East Coast in the US, who kind of meta chases and just plays whatever's good and plays it at a good level. So we went with him for Tau, and then it comes to just filling out the rest of the roster of what are we going to do for Marines. Obviously, Marines are always going to be a top 8 army, but what does that build look like? How does it fit in? And for that, we went with Dan, who's actually a 1,000 Sun specialist like myself, and is a very close friend of mine, who we brought onto the team. He was lucky to be able to play test some of 11th edition and get to mess around a bit. And in doing so, he found a Dark Angels build that he was having a good time with. So we went with that. And then when it came to filling our 8th slot, we actually had a player drop out 2 weeks before the event. So we had to find an 8th player to fill in. And I'm very grateful to Peter for that, for being able to fill in. And then we just kind of had to find an army that he could play that had a disposition that fit in the team, which ended up being Custodes. And that's kind of how you start putting those together, is you look for your faction specialists, and then you look for the holes to kind of plug your sinking ship, and then you hope that it all floats at the end. But that's kind of the way to go. And you look at your faction specialists, you ask them what disposition is going to serve them best, and then you just build the rest of the team around that.
That's fantastic. And look, I'm all on board for faction specialty. I am a known Tyranids player. I dabble in demons and started Emperor's Children, but all of 8th, 9th, and most of 10th, I played Tyranids. So I'm respect the hustle, and I completely agree. I've captained 3 teams myself, and definitely starting with a strong base of people who I call them my rocks, people who know what they're doing. They're immovable. They got their game plan, and like you said, kind of figuring out the weak links and the little mini game that is matchmaking and trying to, like you said, plug those holes. Couldn't agree more. Also, that sounds like a terrifying team. That is.
It
a lot of powerhouse factions.
A lot of powerhouse factions. Honestly, we learned a lot throughout the event about 11th. For most of our players, this was within the first 10 games of 11th they'd played. Myself, I had only played 3 games before that first game on the Friday for this event. So I was shitting bricks the whole time, praying that I could rely on my knowledge of 10th and of my army and my theoretical knowledge of how 11th would play to be able to play the game. And obviously, I think this is the case for every game that was played that weekend at ATC, both in the 5-mans and the 8-mans and every other event that was held around the world. Not a single game of Perfect 40K was played that entire time. I'm very certain I got rules wrong. I'm very certain my opponents got rules wrong. I'm certain every single player messed something up at some point, because like I said, we're all learning 11th edition at this point. Even now, we're all still learning and figuring out how these new rules interact and how these different missions score. So a lot of the weekend was spent trying to understand with your opponent how to play the game. And I think that when you bring a team of really strong 10th edition players who just have a core basic understanding of the strategy of Warhammer and what it means to score differential in a team setting, I think that's where you start to get your strongest team, opposed to just let me bring the 8 strongest armies that I've got. Now, if you can do both, then you're in a good spot, and I feel like that's kind of where we ended up.
Yes, no, I 100% agree with all of that. And much like singles, teams is a bit of a there's always a bit of luck factor in your matchups. Either did the enemy team bring more counters than you planned for? Do they have a dark horse faction? Oops, there's 150 orc boys over there, and nobody brought well, we didn't plan for that, because who brings that list? So there is always that whoops a daisy factor that you can get at any event. So it is good, and 100% on an agreement to as best prepare yourself for as much that you can control. So when those X factors do come in, like you said, you have your factional knowledge. You're not in this event, but generally your reps, either with an army or in an edition. As we talked about a bit before, that's off camera. I went to a GT on the opening weekend, Major Warfare down here in Florida in Brooksville. I didn't even use the gone to ground rule because I knew it existed, but I could not find it. And I'm like, look, I know this rule. I know what it is.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you where it's at, so I'm not going to use it. 5 rounds of the GT, I just didn't because I could not prove where it was. And my opponent, and like you said, me and my opponents, we did get stuff wrong. Day 2, we come back to the event, and we're like, so we got that wrong on our match. That was cool. But that's part of the fun of a new edition is, learning, improving, figuring out how to adapt to it. Speaking of that, again, you shout out to your team. You put going 3-1-1 is already a great record. Like you said, it's positive. Mm-hmm. And the competition at this event was insane. If anyone's curious, go look up, through the various, list sites that there are and just look at some of the people that were in the 8-man event. We are specifically focusing on the 8-man. There was a 5-man ATC going on simultaneously. This is the 8-man that we are primarily talking about. Just to clarify so people don't get confused, maybe if they do go look it up. But yeah, competition was tough. But you're the man of the hour. You took Thousand Suns. So to start with, what disposition did you feel would best serve you in your play style? Knowledge, like you said, knowledge of the army, not really knowledge of the edition. What did you kind of latch on to trying to go in here? And with that, what detachments kind of did you feel most comfortable taking?
Yeah, so when we started looking into 11th and we see all these different dispositions, it became really clear early on that some dispositions were just going to score much faster and much easier than others, right? If you look at disruption, if you bring the right list for disruption, in most of your matchups, you can get to 51 points by the top of your turn 2. Just with having the right list and being able to do all the actions you need to do. Drukhari are very good at it. Eldari are very good at it. So you get to start looking at these different things that you get to see. And when you're going into a team setting, you're not necessarily building lists to win every game. You're building lists to not lose every game by a lot. That's kind of like the core fundamental difference between singles and teams. So like when you look at like our Drukhari list, for instance, it was built to make sure it was going to max primary and make sure it was going to score as many secondary as possible. Was it going to win games? Sometimes, but really it could kind of go anywhere and score 7. When you look at Thousand Suns in particular, there are builds that could go do that. You could go play Disruption or Priority Assets or something and build a list that's just going to make sure it always scores the minimum points and that it'll try to get there. But when you look at me, for instance, and what I did throughout 10th, specifically in teams, but also in singles, I'm always a go for the throat type of a guy. I'm going to 20 you. I'm putting the pedal to the floor and I'm just going to try to run you over. And when we start looking at 11th edition and what we're able to do with that, it became very clear, very easy, very early on rather, that the Sekitar robots were going to be very good at that. They're extremely cheap. They're the Sekitar cohort 1-point detachment makes them very strong when it's paired with Hexwarp. So when we look at that combination, the only options are Taken Hold or Priority Assets. And then when we started digging into, okay, well, what are the mission combos? Like what happens when Taken Hold plays Purge the Foe? What happens when it plays Disruption? What happens when Priority Assets plays Purge the Foe or Disruption or Priority Assets or whatever? When we started looking, it became really clear that if you're playing a Taken Hold disposition, you're just playing a game of 10th edition. All of the primaries are traditional 10th edition primaries, essentially. All of your opponent's primary is either a 10th edition primary or a 10th edition secondary. For instance, Taken Hold into Recon is I'm playing literally Taken Hold with Storm Hostile as a fixed secondary, and they're playing Engage on all fronts. And that's it. That's the game we're playing.
I play Vanguard Nids, and fun fact, anytime I go into a Taken Hold opponent, I just take Fixed, and I either pick Assassinate or Bring It Down as the other one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just going to score 11 points passively every turn.
Yep.
And then the rest of it's just going to be how many characters I can assassinate or how many big things I drop. And that's
exactly.
My game.
Exactly. And it's that makes it really easy to identify push armies when we're talking theory. When we haven't played enough games of 11th to actually figure out, if I'm playing Recon, can I push into Disruption? No one's going to have that experience to actually know. But the experience we do have is we know how 10th edition missions play. We know how 10th edition secondaries play, even if it's set as a primary mission. We understand fundamentally how these things work. So when we started looking at our team and what we were going to do, it became very clear that if I'm going to push to get 20s I should definitely play Taken Hold over priority assets, because all I have to do is push my army forward with these hexbots that kill everything, 20 Terminators that don't die and kill everything, and just kind of run them over. And the other big thing looking at that is, if we all believed Tau was going to be the boogeyman of the event, if you look at who was in the top 3, it was me on Thousand Suns, Folger on Necrons, and Durante on Tau, right? Which is like, you would have expected the other 2. You might not have expected Thousand Suns to be up there. But every team had Tau, except for I think 1 that we played, maybe 2 that we played. But like most of the teams that came brought Tau. They had a very serious Tau list that was very scary, and like threatened to play on Dawn of War, go first with 2 scouting Riptides or a scouting Storm Surge and a Riptide, be in your deployment zone and blow up half your army.
And the twins, don't forget the twins.
Yeah, yes, yeah, and Twin Lance, and
Yep.
Just a very scary list that is threatening to go, well, I'm playing Purge the Foe, I'm just going to kill you, and it'll just kill you.
Yep.
So when we're looking at that, we went back to our 10th edition drawing boards and went, okay, well, what was good into Tau in 10th edition? And I kind of undisputedly proved that the Thousand Suns 30 Terminator build could shit all over it. If you go back through BCP and look at my record into it, you'll see nothing below a 15 into Tau, just crushing it over and over again with this list. So
Damn.
When you want to bring that over and go, well, what are we doing in 11th? It's like, okay, dude, I'll bring the same shit and I'll just keep beating them up, because it doesn't matter. And then when we looked at bringing a second list that would fight into it, it was like, well, Tau sure would hate to fight Necrons right now, because they'll kill them and then they'll come right back. Especially with how all of the rules were ruled at ATC, with Necrons being able to do every reviving shenanigan you could possibly think of.
More than 10th edition now.
Yeah, more than 10th edition. Like,
somehow it got worse.
Yeah, literally. It's insane and incredibly disgusting what Necrons are allowed to do right now. So it was like, okay, well, let's bring a very good Necron player on a very good Necron list, a very good Thousand Suns player on a very good Thousand Suns list, and let's just, when we see Tau, we'll point them at it, and the Tau will get to decide how they want to die. For what it's worth, they will score better into the Necrons than they will into me. None of them knew that. I think they all know it now in their hearts after this event, where I got a 20, an 18, and a 16 into Tau right in a row. They are now all very aware of what Thousand Suns can do to them, and it's kind of relying on the strength of this list, and specifically the strength of the robots, to let me kind of dictate control of the game, which we can definitely get into. But that's kind of how we look at exactly what to bring. And it became super clear that Take and Hold was going to be how we're going to push diff, because instead of needing to learn all the matchups and how that all works, we got to go, well, I'll just play games of 10th edition with some funky rules and a really weird layout, and things will be okay.
So just to highlight a couple things for the people at home. One thing is, in teams, and especially an 8-man team, and 5-mans, not so much 3-mans necessarily, but in 5 and especially 8, there is a thing known as roles, where not necessarily everyone is like your role, which is someone a pusher going for 18, 19, 20, ideally, telling their captain or coach, hey, this list, I will bring back nothing lower than X. Like we can expect big points. Other people may be what's known as defenders or blockers, where hey, I might go 0-8, but all of my losses will be like an 11, maybe a 12 at the worst. It'll be a 12. I'll get 8, they'll get 12, I'll get 9, or we'll draw. So that's kind of you highlighting and say, hey guys, here's the threats, I can beat them handily. We'll just lock me in. Like as you said, you got 20, 16, 18. Not to ruin it, spoil it, but like the other two scores are 19 and 20. You gave up seven differential points over five rounds. So an incredible run. But that is an important to know what your job is, and that you were saying that teams get weird because you got to have a different mentality. And your mentality, like you said, your mentality and your entire game plan went into what is going to give me the best chance to get the highest number into the most relevant threats, which is a good way to start. It's a great starting point. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight was the thing you said about, you planned to bring on 2 threats for Tau, who you identified, correctly, I'm going to say,
Yeah.
as one of the biggest threats, if not the biggest currently. Strong argument for Drakari, but that's a whole different thing. That's another concept. If you ever hear someone talk about pinning, where you say, okay, you can pick one of two bad options. Like you're gonna make a bad choice, you get to choose which one. And that's also another thing commonly used by coaches or captains on teams to advantage your team to win the round. Because it's for those of you who don't know, team events are scored on differential scoring, both in the individual matches and then aggregate for all the players on the team. So just because you like get a 20-0, say you get 100 to 10, they just get paint because you blew them out of the water. Well, if another person on your team got 100-0 in the opposite direction, basically you guys have deadlocked now. It's up to the other 6 players to decide who's going to win.
Yeah.
For those of you who are curious, there's a team player packet on GW on Warcom. You can go read to see in depth how it all works. I would suggest doing that, just so you are informed before we go to a team event. But that's the TLDR summary of it.
Yeah, and honestly, for what it's worth, for all the listeners, Teams is the future of 40K. When you talk to anyone who's played Teams, they'll instantly tell you they love it more than singles, that it's way more fun, it's way more competitive, it's more interactive, both socially and even in the game itself. Because there are a lot of games in singles where your opponent is quite clearly winning, you've lost most of your army, and you can just kind of concede the game and go get drinks, right? Well, in Teams, that isn't really a thing. But there also isn't the feels bad of oh no, I'm losing this game really poorly, because you still get to do all the fun, cool interactions to try to score your points. And your opponent knows how the game is going. You know how the game is going. But it's not oh, this sucks so bad that you're crushing me. It's ooh, what can I do to steal a point off of you? And it can become this really fun, deduction game of okay, well, the most you could possibly score is this if you go do these things. How can I stop you from doing these things? And every 40K player that has tried it by now is fully sold on it. And I definitely recommend finding your local Teams events, finding some friends to go with. Just give it a try. You're going to suck. You're going to suck really bad for your first couple Teams events, and that's perfectly fine because you're going to have a lot of fun. And that's the most important part.
Hard agree. We on this channel, both myself and Lewis, the owner of the channel, and he's the TO of pretty much the state of Florida. Hard agree. We love team events; they're great, and it's like you said, it gives you incentive to keep playing, even if you're on the back foot, or even just being straight up blown out. Because no joke, a 19-1 can be the determiner of whether your team wins, draws, or loses a round. So you might lose and only just be able to eke out that 1 point against your opponent, but that 1 point might be what breaks the tiebreaker or bring you from a loss to a tiebreaker to the other 4 players of the team. So it's awesome. It's great. And plus you're playing with friends. It's just you and 4 to 7 of your buddies just chilling for 3 hours. So it's a great time.
Yeah, it's very good. And yeah, the 19-1 thing is huge. If you look at our 4th round at ATC, which was into Frank's Fighting Fazoli boys, I got a 19 into their Eldar. He managed to score a 1. He went first and was playing Disruption. He scored 51 points by the top of his turn 2. And then at the bottom of turn 2, I had killed his final model. And I was like, all right, well, you have no models left. I'm going to go score 100, but you made it to 51, so congrats. You scored 1 diff point. And we drew that round 85 to 75, right? So, he fought really hard. He had a game plan to score a 1 because it's a terrible matchup for him, playing Eldar into robots that Overwatch for free and Terminators that are impossible to kill, where I somehow have more units than he does because Eldar units are so expensive. He knew it was an impossible matchup. He played a game plan to score a 1. He scored a 1, and he said, "This is great." We didn't even roll dice for my bottom of turn 2. I just pointed at things and I said, "I'm going to kill this. I'm going to kill that. I'm going to kill that." He said, "Sounds good to me, man. I got a 1." We locked it in, and lo and behold, they tied the round. We scored an 85. They scored a 75, and we drew instead of winning the round. It's very important. And honestly, that guy had a blast. I had a blast playing him because we both knew what the game was. We know it's a bad matchup, so there isn't a feels bad for him, or even it feels bad for me going into it. It's just, I need to stop him from scoring a 1. He needs to do whatever it takes to score a 1. In 11th edition, redrawing secondaries is bad. I think everyone who's played it and has looked can agree that it's bad. Turn 1, he redrew his secondaries because he knew he needed to score. And that was fun. It was a fun experience, and I know that he had fun. Congrats to their team for pulling the draw out of nowhere. It was very good. Yeah.
Yep. No, and that's, again, wonderful. If you have it, even if you don't want to, necessarily commit to a team event, if you know some friends who are going, go with them. Hang out for a round or two, and just see what it's about. Highly encourage. We are both we call ourselves a semi-competitive channel, but mainly a community channel for all levels of play and experience. So it's awesome. But getting back to the topic at hand, your list, you've kind of hinted with some Terminators, some robots, the attachment. If you want to give us quick and dirty of what you brought, any enhancements and units, and then as we go through your matches, people can kind of keep in mind what you're working with.
Yeah, 100%. So I brought Hexwarp Thrallband combined with Sekitar Cohort, which is a 2-point and a 1-point detachment that let you play Take and Hold or priority assets. We obviously chose Take and Hold. Hexwarp lets you reroll wound rolls of 1 of all your psychic attacks, or if I have control of the board, I have 2 or more objectives in the middle, I'm in my deployment zone, or I have their deployment zone objective, I'm in my flow of magic, and then I have +1 to wound on all my psychic stuff instead of reroll ones. Which is very nasty, because Sekitar Cohort makes the 12 Sekitar robots have psychic on all their equipped weapons, and it gives them some extra bonuses, like if they're within 12 inches of a sorcerer, they have +1 to hit and melee, things like that. But really, it gives them a strat package that's super important. Specifically, they have a reactive -1 to wound strat in shooting, which is very good for keeping them alive, because it essentially turns them into Terminators. The Terminators, which we'll get to, are T5, 2 up, 4 up, and will have stealth because they'll be hiding in a building somewhere. The robots are T6 with a 3 up, 5 up that also have stealth because they just have it baked in, and now I can spend a strat and make them -1 to wound. They're going to be really hard to kill. So that strat's super important. There's a strat that for 1 CP, the robots can do an action and still shoot, which is incredibly strong in 11th edition with how many actions we have now, specifically on primaries, but also some of these secondaries. And then they also have a 1 CP sticky in my movement phase, which provides a really unique trick where you can actually walk the robots onto an objective, spend 1 CP and sticky it, and then in the shooting phase, I can cast Temporal Surge to double move them off of that objective and be totally safe and just force the opponent to come up. And when they come up, they'll eat an Overwatch from the robots that are standing behind the template, and they'll die, so they actually have to commit 2 units, and it's very gross.
That is the nastiest thing I've heard all of that. That is disgusting. I love it. Don't do it to me.
I know. You see how much joy it brings to me just getting to discuss doing it?
That is some Eldar shenanery, right? That is some early 10th edition Eldar shenanigans, but I hate it.
It's so gross. In my 5 games at ATC, I didn't do it a single time, but I got to talk about it every time and threaten to do it, and that was almost more joyous to me.
Yeah. The looming threat that it could have. I don't have to, but I could, just in case you were wondering.
Yeah, it's great. And then Hexwarp also provides a reactive cover strat, which is very good for the Terminators. It provides a strip cover strat, which is also very good for the Terminators. That actually lets you strip cover on 2 things, because they get ignores cover, and whatever they shoot at loses cover for the rest of the phase. So you have 1 Terminator shoot his bolter way the fuck over there and strip cover on something while they delete something else. It's a very strong strat. There is a sticky in my command phase strat. That's right, I've got 2 sticky strats. It's great. And then the other, there's one more really important strat. The Terminators can get 6-inch deep strike, which is very good. And the Rubrics can get 8-inch deep strike, which is also very good. So then when we get into the list construction itself, we're bringing Ahriman. The biggest thing Ahriman's providing is I get to redeploy 3 units, and he has +1 to cast spells. And he has Lone Op now, because he'll run into a building, cast a spell, which does not count as activating, and he'll just keep Lone Op. And it's great. So he's a nice little tech piece. We have a Sorcerer on disc with Walking Ramparts, which is an enhancement coming out of the Sekitar Cohort detachment, which at the start or end of that guy's movement, he can heal a robot unit that is within 3 of him. So he can run over to the robots that you didn't commit enough to kill, and heal back D3 plus 1 wounds, which on a 5 is always an extra base for the robots. So there's a lot of value to be had in that. And then the enhancement also gets him blown up if he's within 3 of someone. His gun is fine. Like it's a decent gun, and then his big ability is whatever he shoots at gets slowed down by 2 inches, so it moves, advances, and charges 2 inches slower. So he's like a nice little tech piece. He's very quick. Again, he can also have blown up just by running into a building. He's a super cool piece. And then it's backed up by 20 Scarab Occult Terminators with Sorcerers. They've got lethal hits on everything. In rapid fire range, I've got like 58 shots with lethal hits. It's all base AP2, which is actually really good now because we know we're getting cover benefits to our saves in 11th edition. And then I've got a regular sorcerer with Empiric Onslaught, which is an enhancement coming out of Hexwork Thrallband, which gives him +3 attacks on his ranged psychic weapons. The sorcerer is one of the angry characters in the game, so once again he's going to get really upset. He's going to go to strength 8 on his gun. He'll get an additional +3 attacks, so he'll actually go to 12 attacks, and he is flat sustained hits 3. And with Thousand Suns, I have access to Oath of Moment through my spells, and I have access to additional AP. So you put him with 5 rubrics, you walk him on the board edge, you cast Oath of Moment on something, then you cast extra AP on something, and you roll 12 attacks, hitting on 2s with full hit rerolls, fishing for sustained hits 3, that are also lethal hits, by the way. And then it's strength 8, and in this detachment, depending on where I am, it's going to be +1 to wound, so I'm going to wound pretty much everything in the game on 4s at least, if not better. And then I can bump it up to AP3, which is very good now. Even into like Armor of Contempt armies, it still is going to be very strong. And that guy, I think on average, he does something like 26 hits and then a ton of wounds to whatever he shoots at, because he's with rubrics. We're giving him reroll 1s or reroll the whole thing for every objective.
Yep, I was gonna say don't short sell. The rubrics have a rule too. They're giving them.
Oh yeah, they do. This guy's getting every buff in the world with the goal of killing things. And not to spoil my game later, but he sure did fully kill a missile broadside unit of 3 missile broadsides from full, all by himself, plus a default.
Damage 2 or 3?
Damage 1.
Damage 1. Oh my god.
He's damage 1, but AP3 is really good into missile broadsides because they're saving on 5s. They're T6, so I was wounding them on 2s because I was in my zone of control. We'll definitely get to it. It was very interesting, and that opponent was not prepared for that to happen at all to his missile broadsides.
Yeah, no, who would be?
Yeah,
it's just 12 damage, 1 attacks. It'll be fine. Suddenly,
yeah,
it's fine.
Suddenly, it's 32 damage, 1 attacks, and I've wounded with all of them because I'm wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s, and and you're saving on 5s. And, well, I guess you've lost your 24 wounds worth of missile broadsides. Oops.
Oopsie.
Oops. But so there's that, and then the real core and meat of the list is 3x4 Sekitar robots. 2 of them were equipped with Meltas instead of Power Claws, because the Meltas are very good here. The Meltas are strength 10 base, then they're psychic, so they're getting +1 to wound. +1 to wound on your Meltas is very good. They're AP4 base as well. They can benefit from the extra AP. They can go to AP6, and your Land Raider sure doesn't save anything anymore. It's very gross. It's so much fun to just look at a Land Raider and go, yeah, you can pick it up, man. The power
that brings me joy. We have scarce anti-tank anything, so that's funny.
Yeah, it's quite good. It was very nasty. I picked up a Vindicator in my 5th game, where I just walked up to it and I went, "Hey man, this is gonna suck for you." And he said, "No, I think I'll be all right. I've got Armor of Contempt." And I go, "Buddy, I'm AP6. Armor of Contempt isn't gonna give you a save. I'm so sorry." And that Vindicator sure did die, and it sucked for him. It was great for me. It was such a good experience. 10 out of 10. I'd do it again. But
that's awesome.
The robots are then benefited by the fact that they Overwatch for free and they Heroic for free, which means they have access to Super Heroic for only 1 CP instead of 2, which in this edition, where every army is getting less CP, essentially, because we're no longer discarding secondaries to generate additional CP, is like super important to the action economy of this army and just being able to activate over and over again. So having access to Super Heroic is the whole reason that we bring 1 set of robots with Power Claws, The claws are strength 10 base, AP 2 damage 2, which is like enough to kind of kill any trash unit in the game that you are throwing on an objective early. So like I can position my robots just outside of the middle. You'll walk onto the middle, and then I'll super heroic them in for 1 CP, and I'll kill you with some power claws and get a whole bunch of extra. And it's definitely very nice and very strong to use. Otherwise, we probably, if we couldn't do the super heroic, we'd probably just bring more Meltas, because even though it's only 1 Melta shot per model, it still is 4 Melta shots that have hit rerolls and sometimes a wound reroll, and just are very strong.
+1 to wound.
Yeah, +1 to wound. Overwatching for free is always a good thing.
Yep.
So it's those guys are definitely the backbone of the list. They're where we're getting the most value, other than that the Terminators still are just insanely cheap for what they do and what it takes to kill them.
Yeah, that is a hell of a core. 3 units of those guys, 2 bricks of Terminators,
Yep.
and then Rubric with Angry Infernal Master Sorcerer
Yep.
guy. Just
Yep.
oh
Yeah.
man.
And then you still get to bring 3 trash pieces. We're bringing 3 sets of Zangors on discs. 2 of them have bows, 1 of them has spears. Those guys don't really matter for anything at all. It takes 2 units to fully screen your backfield on anything that isn't a Dawn of War deployment, especially now with the whole units have to stay within 9 inches of themselves. It's the whole reason we're no longer bringing Zangors in the list, because 1 unit of 3 Bogoats can spread out and cover something like 9.2 inches or something, and a unit of 10 Zangors is covering like 9.4, something like that, whatever we on TTS. So it's like Zangors are 30 points more than bringing the goats on discs. So we're just going to bring goats on discs and call it a day. And then every once in a while they matter, because the bow goats are still quite strong at 522, ignores cover, lethal hits, precision, where like in my game against Space Marines, they poked out. I had full hit rerolls on Titus with the Wardens and the Blade Guard brick, and they killed Titus. They just sniped him right out of there. It was fantastic. It truly was a good time. My opponent hated that as well. With hit rerolls, I rolled 6 lethal hits, and I just killed that guy, and it was fantastic. it was such a good feeling. I was already winning that game, but wow, was that a good feeling. So they're there. They're fast. They move 10 inches. They're good trash pieces. They have reactive moves. It's a very like straightforward list. When you read it, you know what it's trying to do to you. It's gonna walk at you. It's gonna hurt you. You're gonna have to try to kill it.
I love how you went through one by one. Like, all right, here's a profile, but actually it could be more AP, and it could reroll hits, it gets +1 to wound, it could reroll wounds, and it could free Overwatch, it could free heroic, but it's very straightforward. Don't worry about it.
It is. There's a lot of tech. There's a lot of like interesting things I can do, but ultimately it is like 3 data sheets backed up by really good rules. If those data sheets get nerfed, I'm fucked. There won't be anything I can do about it. But it offers you like a really interesting way to play the game, where most of 40K is about trading your pieces, right? Most 40K games play a lot like chess, where it's like, I'm going to sacrifice this so that I can kill this, and I'm just going to trade away and score my points as I go, and it'll be fine. And Thousand Suns right now aren't playing the same game as everybody else. We are shoving everything at you, picking up all your pieces, and going, yeah, what are you going to do about it?
You know who they remind me of? Custodes.
Yes. Yeah.
That's their game. That's the only game plan they have. Is hey, we are not as many as you, but we're better than you. So here's all of us, do something about it, or we win.
Yep. Yeah. It plays a lot like how Stodes should be playing. We are just as tanky and resilient. It is really hard to remove 20 Terminators when they have stealth, when they're always -1 to wound. It's just hard to get rid of them. And then when you're adding essentially 12 more Terminators, if you look at the robots as Terminators, which I definitely do, you're just going to have a hard time removing them. The robots are getting insane value out of the fact that they Overwatch for free. In order for you to engage with them, you have to let me Overwatch something. And that's going to be bad for you. That's a promise. Like these robots are picking up all sorts of stuff. I picked up a Riptide in Overwatch with them this week, or at this event. Well, if you think about it, so the robots have 8 missile shots and 4 Melta shots. That's 12 shots. Yep. I should get 2 6s out of that somewhere. And then I'm wounding on 2s with whatever it is into Riptides, because I'm +1 to wound and I'm strength 10 on both of those weapons. So if my 2/6s come from Meltas, and then I'm wounding on 2s, you're going to fail one of those 4-up saves. I'm going to deal d6 plus 2 damage to you, because you probably have to get into Melta range to fight me. If not, you're still taking d6. And then on top of that, I have 4d6 5-2-1 flamethrowers that are also +1 to wound. So
God, they have so many guns.
yeah, so the math is just kind of there to kill a Riptide from full. If you are getting within 12 of me, which if I'm doing my job of positioning correctly, you're going to have to get within 12 of me, and you're going to eat all these shots, and you're probably going to die. We'll definitely get into that with the games here. But it's a list that is built to kill. The robots having infiltrate is really good. It's the whole reason that we're bringing Ahriman, so that ultimately the roll-off to see who the attacker or defender is doesn't truly matter to me. If you don't have a redeploy, I'm always going to have the most knowledge when dropping my things, because I have way fewer drops than everyone anyways, because I've got 10 Terminators in the sky, Rubrics in the sky, 10 Terminators on the board, 3 sets of robots, 3 trash units, and that's my whole list. So like, I'm putting all of my stuff down anyways, and then I'm just going to redeploy according to how you've decided to deploy your army. And the robots are very small units. Because it's only 4 dudes, on these boards there are lots of weird places you can hide, where if your opponent doesn't deploy 100% perfectly, you can really take advantage with the redeploy. Find unique spots to sit and hide, where you go, okay, if you go first, what's going to get me? And you can just do the math and make sure it's one thing, or even 2 things if they aren't that strong, that can get you. And then if I go first, what do I get? And robots move 8. If they double move, they'll move 14. So you can really deploy them super aggressively with redeploy to just totally threaten killing everything in your opponent's army, because they're super strong, and not really be giving up that much so long as you're doing it correctly, which is really hard to teach people. It kind of just comes from the experience and being able to look and truly take the time to go, okay, how fast does your thing go? Where can it get that sees me? If it gets there, can I overwatch it? If I can't, am I okay taking that damage with you going first and me just kind of being out in the open, so to say? So it makes for a really aggressive playstyle that most 40k armies aren't trying to play, because it's too dangerous. And in this one, you're kind of backed up by the fact that the robots are so cheap that it doesn't matter if you lose 4 in turn 1, because they're 160 points, and then you have to eat the rest of my army, and you have to expose a ton to kill them. So it definitely creates some really interesting play patterns that kind of take a lot of experience in getting correctly. And if you're gonna go try and play it, you have to be okay knowing that you're gonna probably mess it up a couple of times before you start to get it right, and you're gonna give Thousand Suns players a bad name, because you're gonna it. And I beg of you all, please go play my army. Please go fuck it up. Please tell GW not to nerf it. Tell them it's not that. I would like to keep doing what I'm doing right now, so please go copy my list. Go deploy on the line. Go infiltrate 8 inches away from your opponent. Pray to go first. Hope you win. That's the best advice I could give. And go lose your games so that I can keep playing, please.
Spoken like a true faction expert, number 1. That's wonderful. We're gonna take a minute, hear a word from our sponsor. Gotta keep the lights on. But when we come back, we'll start getting into some of your matchups, and like you said, kind of putting some of this theory into some practice, obviously, to knowing the matchup, asking the important questions, knowing what your army can do and can take, and kind of seeing what your thought process was. So stick around with us, and we'll be back in a few.
Now with a word from our sponsor, Baron of Dice. Baron of Dice is your one-stop shop for premium wargaming dice. Our dice are made with premium resin materials and colored dyes. Each die is hand-mixed to the desired result and then carefully swirled with 2, 3, or 4 colors in a silicone mold before being laser engraved with a wicked symbol and finished in a matte or gloss polish. There are no imperfections in our dice, no balancing issues, no micro bubbles or mold lines. This is the difference between. You can, quite literally, feel and hear a difference with our dice. Whatever game you play, whatever style your team or faction rocks, we're sure to have something to elevate your game. With over 500 styles and over 4,000 customer reviews, welcome to the best dice on the planet. Now back to our show.
All right, everyone, welcome back, and be sure to check them out. Link will be down in the description. But getting back to the show at hand, Mr. Malaki, if you wouldn't mind walking us through kind of your path to victory here. You kind of let us in with your first 3 matchups.
Yep.
If you want to break those down to any extent you're comfortable with, I'm sure we'd love to hear some of the theory and strategies you employed throughout your weekend.
Yeah, 100%. So my first game, our team played a team called the Dojo, who we'd played before at different team events. They're a group of really nice guys. They're a lot of fun to play with. They're always a good time. Their scariest list for our team, and you'll see this as a common thread as we go across, was their Tau list. No one wanted to play Tau. It was very scary. In this case, their Tau list was actually playing Recon Tau instead of Purge the Foe. So they were Kaoyun plus Advanced Acquisition Cadre, or whatever it's called. And it was a pretty interesting list. It had 3 Sky Rays, 2 Ghost Keels, 2 Riptides, and then the Twins, and then all the trash that you would expect to be in there. They first defended with him, which is what most people did this whole weekend for teams. Is there were a lot of first defended Taus and a lot of third defended Taus. Personally, on our team, we third defended Tau almost every time, which is probably best saved for another team's breakdown type of video here. But they first defended Tau. We put myself and Necrons into it, and we were actually incredibly shocked to see that they had chosen me, because when we had played against them earlier in the year in 10th edition, we had done the exact same thing to them, and they chose me, and I 20-0'd their guy. So I was shocked to see that they would accept it again. And when they did, I started getting scared and thinking that maybe I was wrong and that maybe too much had changed going into 11th edition. Unfortunately for them, nothing had changed. So the benefit of being defender at this team event was that you got to choose which of the 3 layouts you wanted to play on, A, B, or C, which was kind of supposed to be the big benefit for Tau, is they could always choose the Dawn of War layout and just kind of run at you and go first. But with this guy playing Recon instead of Purge the Foe, that's no longer like a great game plan. So he instead chose the Search and Destroy layout, which was definitely the wrong choice, and we talked about it after the game. The real reason it's an issue is if I win the roll-off to infiltrate first, I get to put 4 robots in front of his line on his expansion, and he can no longer infiltrate safely onto his expansion. And that's exactly what I did. I won the roll-off. I put 4 Terminators right in front of his deployment zone. He then deployed some Pathfinders towards the middle. I then put 4 more on the other side in front of the other corner of his deployment zone and just kind of boxed him in. And it was set up to kind of threaten him either way. He did get to infiltrate a Ghost Keel up a little bit on my side of the board where my expansion is, which was definitely the right choice, but only if you don't see what's coming, which I'll get to in a moment. He then deployed the rest of his army in front of his expansion, essentially like hiding very well and threatening to just absolutely put everything he can into reclaiming his expansion. So I used my redeploys and put all 12 of my robots in front of my expansion, threatening that Ghost Keel and threatening the Riptide that was on that side. And then I very carefully measured out to make sure that the only things that would get to shoot me if he went first would be that Ghost Keel and Riptide, and the Ghost Keel would have to eat an Overwatch, and it would most likely die on average from that Overwatch. So I deployed very aggressively, but also quite safely. We then did the roll-off. I went first, and on my first turn of the game, I killed that Ghost Keel, I killed that Riptide, and I killed a Piranha that had scouted a little too far up into the middle of the board. And from there, the game kind of just ended. He had the rest of his army deployed over towards his expansion on Search and Destroy, which is just a little too far to come defend his home whenever I'm attacking through my natural expansion. So he spent his whole turn 1 just moving everything over and abandoning his expansion, which is then not good, because on my turn 2, I get to deep strike onto his expansion and hold it forever with rubrics that are very hard for him to remove, because again, eating that Overwatch is bad now that I get to Overwatch at the end of the movement phase. And from there, I just kind of picked apart his whole army. I think by the end of the game, I had lost 4 robots and 2 Terminator models, and he had lost his entire army. So there really wasn't much he could do, unfortunately. On my turn 2, I killed the other Riptide, I killed the other Ghost Keel, I killed 2 of the Sky Rays. Sky Rays are not threatening to my army at all. So he just kind of didn't have what he needed to play the game at that point, and I was very easily able to turn that into a 20-0. And then when we get to my second game, it was into Team Degen, who I don't know quite as well. But again, it was into their Tau list, which was another recon list, playing Ret Cadre. And this is the one that is trying to play like engage on all fronts against my take and hold. And I essentially got to do the exact same thing to this player as I did to the first one. He chose to put us on tipping point, which presented me with a really good opportunity to just put 12 robots in front of his expansion. If I went first, I was going to touch in, I was going to kill the crisis suits that had Meltas and a Riptide. And if he went first, the only things that we're going to get to touch some robots were the crisis suits with Meltas and a Riptide, which is just not enough to get them because the crisis suits have to come within 12 to shoot me. He made the choice to actually move them within 6 so that they would get their Melta bonus as well, but it meant that I got mine. And on Overwatch, I rolled 2 6s with my Meltas, wounded with both. I'm AP4, I'm going straight through, and I killed 2 of the crisis suits off of that. I killed a 3rd suit off of the Flamers, and the character got to shoot me. Oh, I'm so scared. The character in the Riptide shot into me. He killed, I think, 2 robots. I think it was 2 robots. I then walked my reviving sorcerer right up to them, revived one of the robots, charged in. I killed the crisis suit, killed the Riptide, took his expansion forever. And then we played an interesting game of where can he 6-inch deep strike crisis suits to try to score baby engage. And he was very creative with it. He had a lot of good methods to do it. And he was able to score a lot of points on me, unfortunately. I just didn't have enough to protect all 4 quarters of the board because there just aren't enough units in my list when I need to still be pushing and taking him out of the game. So it was another really interesting game, but again, just one where if I'm killing that much of his damage that early, he's just not going to kill enough stuff. And he did a great job of running around and scoring points. Then we get into what was most definitely the hardest matchup for our team, which was into Valkyrie Wargaming, who I believe got second at the event, I think. They went undefeated. They went 4-0-1. They were very good, a very strong team. This was Folger and Brian Daughtry's team. And it was great to get to play against them again. They had some very scary lists. Again, amongst them, they had Tau. This was the Tau that was playing on Purge the Foe and had brought a Storm Surge, 2 Riptides, Twin Lance, and a set of missile broadsides, and then like 2 more burst cannon crisis suit squads that were interesting. And this one, the player was warned about what I would do. His team had told him that this could be a bad matchup and that he needed to try to stop me from aggressively infiltrating and going first and getting a bunch of value turn 1. He unfortunately did not listen to his team, and I got to infiltrate very aggressively, just right behind the center ruin. He deployed the Storm Surge on the line with the goal of, if he went first, he would scout forward, touch, and see 4 robots. I don't know why that was his game plan. Definitely not a good trade for him. I ended up going first, and I went to go kill the Storm Surge turn 1. I put plenty on it to make sure it would happen. Unfortunately, it lived on, I believe, 2 wounds or something, which was like very sketchy for me, and I was very concerned that I was going to lose the game at that point.
Did he -1 damage it? I'm assuming this is Montca.
Yeah, it's Montca. Yep, he -1 damaged it.
Okay. So otherwise, it would have been dead.
Even through -1 damage, it definitely should have been dead. Unfortunately, I got to shoot 24 missiles at it, hitting on 4s, but with Oath of Moment rerolls, and I hit a total of 6 times. So like him living on 2 was kind of just because I missed all my missile shots.
It made the game interesting.
Yeah, it made the game super interesting. I got very worried that I was going to lose too much. On his turn, he had to expose his entire army, with the exception of the missile broadsides. He had scouted them up pre-game, and I walked 3 of my disc goats forward 10 inches and rolled a 7-inch charge at them on my turn 1 to just lock them in place because they can't fall back and shoot. So the missile broadsides are by far the scariest thing for my list to see. They're just very dangerous for me. They can pretty much kill a Terminator brick from full if they have the reroll strat working. So I have to be super careful of those guys. So my turn 1, I sent 3 goats over to just tie them up in melee, because they don't have enough attacks to kill the goats in melee. They just can't get through 6 wounds, unfortunately, which is quite funny. But then they'll obviously shoot them to death, which is fine. So I tied them up, and then in his turn, a Storm Surge, 2 Riptides, and like all the Pathfinders in the world got to shoot at 8 robots and kill them from full, which is perfectly acceptable, because then on my turn, I deep struck my Terminators that run space 6 inches away from him, walked my other ones up, double moved them, shot, and I killed both Riptides, the Storm Surge, and like most of his trash units. And I got to use another thing to tie up the missile broadsides in combat, because they hadn't gotten to move. I just moved up more goats, made another 7-inch charge, tied them up, took them out of the game entirely. And then Twin Lance got to come up and kick my shit in, because Twin Lance is still incredibly strong. I think Twin Lance killed 10 Terminators by themselves, basically. The missile broadsides freed themselves, and then they came over and they killed 10 Terminators, and things were still pretty sketchy. And then this is when I got to bring in the Rubric Marines with the Sorcerer and look at the missile broadsides, cast Oath of Moment, cast Doombolt, cast extra AP with my other Sorcerer, and I killed them from full with just the Sorcerer, delivering something like 32 hits and 32 wounds, and he's saving on 5s, and he failed just enough to take 21 damage, because I'd done 3 off of Doombolt, to just fully lose that brick. And he lost his mind at that. He thought that was absurd that happened. I'm sorry, man, if you're listening, that was not absurd. That's what I'm supposed to do.
No. First of all, he's not wrong. That is absurd that can happen. But also, that is just what that model does.
It's just what it does.
With the support of the attachment and army rules.
Yep. Yeah. With all the support going, I'm supposed to kill you. I'm so sorry.
But to be clear, it is absurd that there's like 8 rules on that guy's shoulders, and he's just deleting whatever he looks at.
Yeah, I mean, if we go over it, right? So extra AP, hit rerolls, angry, an enhancement to be extra angry, a Doombolt to help, wound rerolls, and +1 to wound. So yeah, 7 rules. 7 rules buffing that guy. Plus the strat to deep strike in from space instead of walking on the board edge. It's pretty good. So at that point, what did the game? What was kind of the shape of the battlefield? So to be fair, I had lost pretty much all my Terminators that game. I had both Terminator Sorcerers left, because the Tau never quite have enough damage to get all the way to the character. So one of my units, I just had the character left. The other unit, I had like the character and like 1 Soul Reaper cannon dude. I still had 4 robots hanging out on his expansion, just tying it down. And then I had my rubrics, and Armin had died at some point in some fiasco, I'm sure. And my disc sorcerer was just like holding on to my expansion for dear life against 3 crisis suits that had deep struck near there and then walked over, and we were just fighting each other, punching each other to death, essentially, except crisis suits can't kill a 6 wound T4 sorcerer with a 3-up 4-up, and my sorcerer can eventually kill crisis suits in melee. I killed the last one in turn 5. I had been engaged in melee with them from bottom of 3 all the way through to his bottom of 5, and finally I had killed 3 crisis suits in melee. It was fantastic. But yeah, the game was, if you looked at the board state, it looked like neither of us had anything, but unfortunately I had just enough stuff still around and scoring points and still dealing a ton of damage to him that he just kind of couldn't score on me, and it was not very good for him. And that's kind of how the Tau matchup goes, is like their profiles look like they line up really well into my army. My army is a bunch of T4 bodies and T3 bodies. Riptides look like they love them, but unfortunately Riptides only have 6 shots. They're just not gonna kill anyone.
They all have invulns. They all can be -1 to hit, -1 to wound.
Yep.
Some of them can be healed back to some extent. It's just not a good time.
No, it's just not enough to kill them. It's not enough volume. It's the right number, and that's kind of the issue with the Tau players, is they look at their weapon profiles and they go, wow, I have the right weapon profiles, but they don't actually look at the number of attacks, and then look at the number of bodies that I have that they need to kill. So unfortunately, currently, T-Suns is always going to do this to Tau when it's played correctly. There are definitely T-Suns players that don't know how to play the game right and don't know how to play into this Tau list and how to feed it the exact right amount of threat so that you aren't losing everything, but you're still killing enough.
So what he's saying, guys, is going back to his earlier statement, those of you going out to events with Tau Thousand Suns, play into Tau specifically so they do get nerfed.
Yeah, request that you get paired into Tau. Deploy on the line. Trust me, bro. It'll work. Just deploy on the line. Go first. Kill them, dude. It'll be great. And if they go first...
aggressively infiltrate every match. It'll never go wrong.
Yeah. It'll be great. Just don't even measure where they can go. They're Tau. Right? Like, don't even measure where they can go. Just put your models down and go, bro, I'm going first. And then when you go first, you run right up. Even if you can't see anything, you run right up in their face.
You stop them from moving. It's value.
They don't have enough shots to kill you. Didn't you hear what I just said?
Trust.
You just trust me. And then if they go first and they fully wipe your entire army, just come back to this video and say I'm a liar and it's all my fault. And don't change anything about what you're doing. Just go play it again. Go try it again.
Do it again. Surely it'll work.
Yeah. It'll work eventually.
Heavy sarcasm aside. So this is the end of day one, correct?
No, we actually only played 2 rounds day one. It was 2 rounds on day one,
okay.
2 on day 2, and 1 on day 3. So
we're into day 2. All right. Well, your 3 initial Tau matchups that you kind of led us with in the intro are out of the way. What did round 4 look like?
So round 4, unfortunately for me, our opponents did not bring Tau. So I was very disappointed. I was hoping to just play Tau 5 times and have an easy day. Unfortunately, I got to play Eldar and have an even easier time.
So unfortunate.
It's so unfortunate, in fact, that I'm looking at my matrix on my second monitor here, and we didn't write down what's in the Eldar list. That's how much we didn't respect that list. Is that I can't tell you exactly what was in it. From memory, Fuegan and 5 Fire Dragons were there. The Avatar of Cain was there. Jane Czar and her friends were there. There were 2 sets of Warp Spiders, one with Lycus and one with the Autarch. There was a unit of 10 Swooping Hawks with whatever their named character is called. There's another unit of 5.
So it was Mr. Max Steele. Shout out to him. And it was an Aspect host list with Fuegan and the 5 Fire Dragons, Jane Czar, 5 Howling Banshees, Baharoth with 10 Swooping Hawks, big unit Hawks, an Autarch Wayleaper with the Strategic Savant Enhancement with a unit of 5 Warp Spiders, Lycus with 5 Warp Spiders of their own, an Avatar of Cain, shout out to you, Mac, you're a real one, taking the Avatar, 2x5 Rangers, and 2x3 Shining Spears, a 3-man Shroud Runner, and a 5-man Swooping Hawk. So just a lot of MSU with like character-led breaks, with the Swooping Hawks being the biggest break. And then the Avatar, I'm assuming, was going to be his anchor unit, but we'll hear how well that worked out for him.
Yeah, so we get to the table, and he understands that this is a bad matchup for him right away. And he goes, look, man, I'm going to try to score a 1. And I said, I believe in you. You're going to get there. He was playing Disruption, which, for those of you that don't know, is very good at scoring primary very early, especially with a fast list like Eldar. All they have to do in the Take and Hold is run up and do an action on each of the objectives, essentially. And as soon as they do that, they score a ton of points. And then they'll go do it to different terrain pieces around the map. So he chose Dawn of War as his board so that he could reach everything turn 1. Brilliant choice. He also then deployed in such a way that if he went first, he was just going to throw everything at me and try to kill me and keep me off the board. I deployed 10 Terminators. Yeah. I deployed 10 Terminators essentially on the line on Dawn of War. There's this nice little pocket where you're still behind all the terrain, but you're essentially on your deployment line. And then I put 4 robots in front of them. And then I put 8 robots attacking his expansion. The primary for this mission requires me to hold his expansion or to hold his home to score the most points possible. So my entire game plan is if he doesn't run at me, I need to have enough dedicated to taking his expansion that I hold his expansion forever to score 6. And I essentially completely ignored my expansion. I just let him have that side of the board if he wanted it and walked away. He went first, and he decided that the way he was going to try to win was to all in me. So the Avatar of Cain just walked right at me. Jane Czar and her friends walked right at me. All the bikes walked right at me. Fuegan and the 10 Swooping Hawks are the only thing that stayed behind to like hold his home and try to screen a little bit. He sent both units of Warp Spiders up. All the bikes, everything came at me with the goal of killing the 4 robots in the middle and the 10 Terminators that were behind, and to try to kill 4 robots that were over by his expansion. He made the unfortunate mistake of thinking that Lycus and his 5 Warp Spiders wouldn't die to a robot Overwatch.
And you mentioned the 46 Flamers plus 1 to wound.
I did, and also the unit that got to Overwatch him was the Power Claw unit, which also has an additional 4d3 Flamers at Strength 3, AP 1, Damage 1 with plus 1 to wound. So,
bold assumption.
So he was very aware of what could happen. Unfortunately for him, he did his little warp jump, and he lost 3 Warp Spiders to the warp jump.
Oh no!
On Hazardous. And then he was like, "Oh man, well they're gonna die now, huh?" And I said, "Brother, it doesn't matter. They were gonna die anyways. You rolling 3 1s on warp jump didn't change anything. You decided that Jane Czar needed to ignore Overwatch, so you gave it to her and you walked her forward. Unfortunately, that meant that Lycus was always gonna die."
I just want to stop and highlight something for the people that watching this. I love your attitude, because you're not like arrogantly cocky. You're just like, brother, listen. This is like an average of like 22 wounding you on 2 auto hitting shots. There was never a world where this was working. Like I just need you to understand.
Yeah. So I killed Lycus. He then all-in'd me. He killed the 4 robots that were protecting my Terminators. He fully failed to kill the 4 robots that were threatening his expansion. And then he didn't target the other 4 that were standing behind them because he couldn't. He killed those robots. He made 3 9-inch charges in the middle of the board to do this, by the way. The Avatar of Cain, Jane Czar, and Bikes all needed 9s to be able to get engaged with the Terminators, and he made them all. And I was like, well, that's very good for you. I was very worried that I was going to lose my Terminators. So worried, in fact, that I used a strat I've never used before, and that I forgot about when we started this conversation, which is that for 1 CP, I have Fight on Death on a 4-up on the Terminators. But if I'm in my deployment zone, it's on a 3-up. So I popped that strat because I was like, oh no, Jane Czar is going to kill a whole bunch of Terminators. The Avatar of Cain is going to kill a bunch of Terminators. The Bikes might kill a Terminator. I should definitely pop this strat. Then he rolled to kill me with Jane Czar, and she, unfortunately, on her, I think she has 8 attacks or something, rolled 5 1s and missed.
Oh, and he's Aspect Host, not War Host, so those just stay.
Yep. And then with his couple that did hit, he only wounded once, and I made the save. And then that was kind of it. The Avatar of Cain killed like 4 on his own. One of the Bikes killed 1. Jane Czar's girls did nothing. I lost like 4 Terminators, I think, to his melee, maybe 5. And then I popped my Fight on Death, and I killed Jane Czar's unit, but not her. I ignored the Avatar entirely, and I killed like 2 out of the 3 Bikes, I think. And then on my turn, I spent 1 CP on Fall Back and Activate, because I was in my deployment zone. He spent 1 CP on Make Me Take Desperate Escapes, which was like a really interesting interaction that he was able to force. And I lost 3 Terminators to that, which was not good, because I was then very worried I wouldn't kill the Avatar. Unfortunately for him, I still killed the Avatar. I killed Jane Czar. I killed the Bikes. I killed everything that had come up. He had Fuegan and 10 Swooping Hawks left in his list. And he went, okay, let me see what I draw, because I think I can get to 51 points. And I was like, there better not be a way that with 2 or 3 units that he had Rangers somewhere else on the side of the board. I was like, dude, it would be ridiculous if with 3 units left at the top of your turn 2, which is the 3rd turn of the game that is occurring, you can score a 50 wall. That would be crazy. And he managed to get there. He drew the exact secondaries that he could score with what he had. He got to go score outflank by picking up the Swooping Hawks and dropping them on a side of the table. And he made it to 51 points. And he looked at me and he stuck his hand out and we shook hands. He said, I don't even need to know how they die. I know they're dead. you've got a 100, you've won, sir. But he got his 1 point, and I was very proud of him for that. He did the right math, figured out what he had to do to get there, and he had a good game plan. If he had killed those 10 Terminators, I can't deep strike my Terminators or my rubrics on turn 1, so he's then allotted an entire turn to see if he can map out a way to block out all of my deep strikes and keep me off the board entirely. So he had a good game plan. It unfortunately just didn't work. It would have required him to be very lucky, and I would say that he was with the 3 9-inch charges, and then his luck balanced out the moment that Jane Czar decided she wasn't going to kill him. But I was definitely clenching my butt cheeks the whole time. I was very worried, and then I killed him like it was nothing. And then we get to my final game into Keel Hall Gaming. I played against Space Marines, which was a very scary list. It was a Blades of Ultramar list playing priority assets. It was Calgar and Cato with 6 Victrix, Titus and the Wardens of Ultramar with 6 Blade Guard, now that the Wardens are a support character, or however that works. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure. And then Uriel with Company Heroes, a Lieutenant with Combi Weapon, an Intercessor Squad, 2 Ballistuses, 2 Vindicators, and 2 Scouts. This is a very scary Blades of Ultramar list. Most of my team didn't want to play into it because it's just playing good 40k. And on priority assets, it actually has the pieces it needs to kind of score pretty well into most armies. Unfortunately for Space Marines, they no longer get the benefit of cover to their save, which was the whole reason that they were like scarier for Thousand Suns. Was we would cast our +2 AP spell and they would go, well, I have cover and here's Armor of Contempt and your +2 AP spell does nothing. And I would go, oh no, well, that's going to suck. They don't get to do that anymore, so now I get to be at least AP3 into them. I did the same aggressive redeploy trickery bullshit, where I got to put 8 robots in front of where he had 2 Vindicators and the Company Heroes, very safe from the Ballistus Dreads and the Brick with Calgar, and just kind of start the game over there. Unfortunately for me, he went first. He popped Advance and Shoot. He moved both Vindicators up. He got a Ballistus to see them, which I was shocked about. He needed a 6 on an Advance to tow into a ruin to just barely see me, and he got it. He shot. He killed 4 robots, and he was really proud of himself. And then on my turn 1, I killed both Vindicators and that Ballistus Dread with 8 robots and some Terminator shooting. And it was pretty great, because it turns out AP6 on the Meltas just kind of rips through a Vindicator. He was shocked to learn that Armor of Contempt would not provide him a save on the Vindicators. He was like, this is such bullshit. And I agree, it is. AP6 Meltas in your face with +1 to wound is very strong.
Look. On principle, I want to agree, but it's a Space Marine Vindicator. They had it coming for like an addition.
Yeah, they deserved what they got. So I killed all of those. I'm still miles away from the Calgar brick, so I'm not worried about getting charged. He then brought the Company Heroes up, and he made the mistake of thinking that they would survive Overwatch. He walked them right in front of robots, within 6 inches of them. I Overwatched for what it's worth. I did have to pay for it, because Uriel has a Vectora, so I actually had to pay my CP. He was like, I don't think you're going to spend a CP on this, because you won't kill enough. And I was like, okay. And then
I've been doing this for the past like 48 hours, but sure, guy.
I was like, I'll do it, dude. Even if I have to pay, I'll do it, because it's a good Overwatch. I got very lucky, and on my 4 Melta shots, I rolled 3 6s, which then wounded on 2s, which then went straight through, which then were in Melta range, and killed 3 Company Hero models. I then got an additional 3 6s on my 8 missile shots, and killed the rest of the Company Hero brick. And then, for what it's worth, my Flamers rolled like shit, and I did not kill Uriel. But Uriel by himself kind of isn't going to do anything to me. It's the Company Heroes are there to deliver the damage, not him. So he charged into me and died to Power Claws. It was pretty interesting.
Solid.
I then got to rapid my Terminators in front of Calgar and friends, but outside of charge range, and then I moved and double moved. I cast Oath on them and only got hit rerolls of 1, which I was worried about, and then I went to cast AP, and I did not get extra AP at all. And then I was very scared, because at AP2 into Calgar's brick, he's going to pop Armor of Contempt and save on 3s, and I'm just not going to kill those guys. And then I'm going to die. And I thought for sure that I'd thrown the game by failing my spells. Unfortunately for him, he only rolled 1s and 2s for his saves, and he lost all of the Calgar brick except for Calgar. I got incredibly lucky. My 4 rocket shots from Terminators all went through, and 3 of them he had failed the saves on. So I killed 3 Victrix just off of that. And then I just got enough bolter shots and everything else to kill the other 3. And I felt very bad for him because obviously I got incredibly lucky there. I failed my spell. I should never be killing the Calgar brick. And instead I did. And then he could do absolutely nothing to threaten me. He brought the Wardens in. They made like an 8-inch charge into my Terminator brick that was in the middle of the table. And they killed 2 Terminators, maybe 3. And then I killed most of them back in melee, did my fallback strat, shot them with everything I had, and I just kind of tabled them. But in doing all of this guy was scoring a lot of points. He made it to a 44 on primary. Honestly, if I don't kill that Calgar brick, he's probably scoring like a minimum of like a 70, and we're playing like a real game of 40k, and I'm probably not scoring 100. I'm probably scoring somewhere in the realm of 80 to an 85, because my things just still are so efficient into him, and I've taken all of his shooting pieces off the board. But it's definitely a scary game. It definitely shouldn't have been a 20, but these things happen. And that was kind of the recap of my event. I only let up 7 points, which I'm very proud of, especially in a brand new edition like 11th, where scoring seems really easy for everyone to do all of the time. And especially into playing Tau 3 times, which was like very clearly the boogeyman of 11th, and probably still is unless everyone picks up my list, which you probably can't because no one owns 12 of these robots because they're hard to find. So screw you guys, you can't do what I'm doing.
Can't go to the cool kids club.
But it was a really fun event. It was a good time. I'm definitely looking forward to more events in 11th, hopefully before my robots get nerfed because they're quite strong. But for what it's worth, I've got some backup plans that are also quite strong. Not as strong as the 12 robots, but there's definitely some good stuff sitting there.
Yeah, it'll just be 20 Terminators and 3 birds. It'll be fine.
It'll be worse than that, I promise. I won't tell you what it is, but we've got a lot worse planned.
Well, first of all, congratulations to you again for your run and for the decision. Like, as you said, these games, looking at the scores, it might look like you dominated, but there were a couple worrisome moments. So congrats on that for you, because absolutely, someone who maybe didn't have the reps or understanding of the situation they were in might have, like you said, given up, maybe still won, but it wouldn't have been a 20-0 or an 18-2. It might have been like a 14-6 or something. So and again, if you've gone to team events and you've played, you kind of understand the interplay we're talking about. If you haven't, you might be thinking, oh, that's a small difference. It is really not. Just for some slight context to touch on what you said about scoring a lot, I have gone to an RTT, a GT, and I've played a total of like 4 practice games. And before this last RTT, I was at a 80% win rate in 11th, and now I'm at a 50% win rate. I had an awful weekend. Great time, awful run.
Yeah.
But I have not scored lower than 80 points in a single game of 11th.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So you could scoring high and you could still lose. So, very impressive. With that though, any events you're looking forward to, or any not don't necessarily need to give away your list secrets, but what are you looking forward to next in the hobby?
Honestly, the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is Challengers Cup in Utah in September. It's going to be a good event for sure. I think it's done by Green Banner & Co., which is Kicker's company, for any of you out west who are familiar. They're great guys. They put on a great event last year. I'm looking forward to it again this year. I really just look forward to team events. Obviously, Worlds this year in Barcelona is going to be a good time, but I have no illusions of winning that. Siegler is going to be there, and Folger, and all these top-level players, and I promise you Sakatar robots are not going to be allowed at that point. If they are, I'm winning Worlds. That is a promise.
Allowed,
this list exists,
yes. Unnerved, that's the question.
Right. Yeah. If I get to bring the list I just played to Worlds, I will be very happy, and I promise you I will win Worlds. And that's not something that should be happening for a faction specialist to be winning like that. So
I don't know. He did it with Admech twice.
That's true, but Admech was very, very good last year. But the first time you did it, they were not good. The first time Siegler did it, competitive 40k was not that good. I think 10th edition really helped spark the competitive drive in everyone to, play 40K super competitively and take it seriously. And competition has gotten harder every year since the start of 10th.
Which is good. That is not a. I'm assuming, but it is not a complaint. Competition helps everyone improve. You learn more from your losses than you do your wins. Something we teach here on Onslaught. And so having more competitively minded people and competitively focused, particularly on improving the state of the game and competition, in my opinion, has only benefited, because 9th edition was, while I'd say the community was probably healthy, the game balance was not.
Yeah.
So I agree. 10th really had 10th, and GW in 10th specifically made great strides from 8th and especially 9th to 10th, and now 11th. It's certainly not the index 10th. I'll say that.
Yeah, it is much more balanced than index 10th was, and honestly, it's very clear that their design philosophy for this edition is they want to make the game feel as fair as possible. Whether it is as fair as possible is up for debate, but most of your games, you are not going to score less than an 80 or 70. You're going to feel like you're in it the whole time, even if secretly you weren't. Like, even if your opponent always was going to score enough at the end to beat you, just based on the missions and the matchup and everything, it's going to feel good while you're playing it, which was a big complaint, especially at the end of 10th edition there, where a lot of matchups just didn't feel good to play because you knew you were going to lose, you knew you had no chance. 11th, the design philosophy has definitely shifted to, we want players to enjoy the game as they play, and not feel like they're losing, even if they are. And I think that's super healthy for the game. Unfortunately for teams, we have to find ways around that, because the whole point of teams is scoring diff. So we have to find ways to break their game philosophy, and that's going to bleed into singles a lot, where you're going to see strong lists like mine going and winning these GTs, scoring 20-0s the whole time. In singles, you'll see 100 to 30 a lot. And that obviously isn't that healthy for the game, but players are very good at finding the things to counter that and still play a normal game against everything else. So we'll definitely see some course correction from the community itself, just finding ways to combat these things. And we'll also see correction from GW, who clearly wants the game to feel healthy and feel like skill matters more than what you chose to bring to the table.
I agree 100%. Saying my personal favorite, ADHD moment. I just lost what I was going to say. Oh, well. I had it and then it was gone. Doesn't matter. Well, thank you very much for your time, your awesome recap. And again, if anyone has any questions for you, or wants to follow you, or even say hi to you at an event you're going to, if you could just your name of your team and name of that store that sponsors you, people can come by and say hi there, or
100%. So I play for Event Horizons. I also, for what it's worth, play for Nemesis, who won this event. Congratulations to them. For what it's worth, just a quick anecdote. They did not think that Thousand Suns were going to be that good at the start of 11th, so they kindly asked me to not play on their team of killers. They won the event, is what it is, but I was the best overall at the event, so I think I have to myself there to them that maybe Thousand Suns were worthwhile, and they could have won the event by more. They won the event going 4-0-1. If I was there, we would have been 5-0. That's all I have to say about that. But obviously, shout out to Nemesis and Josh and Zach in particular, who are good friends of mine, who did a great job at that event. Very proud of them. And then obviously, shout out to my own team, Event Horizons, and also big shout out to our store sponsor, Tabletop Gaming Center in Newington, Connecticut. Again, if you're local, go check them out. They're great people there. That's all I got.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you guys for staying with us. Be sure to again check out the sponsor in the description. Give the video a like, subscribe if you're not. YouTube forgets we exist if you don't. So we appreciate it very much. And hopefully we'll see you on the next one. I hope everyone has a good night. Malaki, I hope you have a wonderful night. And see you guys next time we get someone to interview.
Peace.
Bye.